Please be seated. Reverend Robert Niehoff of the Society of Jesus, President of the University, will now give greetings and present our commencement speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Day. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you, our graduating classes of 2011, family members and friends, alumni, faculty and staff, and everyone who joins us today to celebrate this joyful and special milestone in the lives of our almost graduates. I would like today also to extend a warm welcome to our honorary degree recipients, the Very Reverend Timothy J. Kesicki of the Society of Jesus, from the John Carroll class of 1984. Tim is now provincial of the newly formed Chicago-Detroit province of the Society of Jesus. When he was appointed Provincial Superior, Father Shell expressed his amazement. Tim may share that with us today. Coincidentally, when Father Kesicki graduated in 1984, our honorary degree recipients included Father Shell. In addition to being an honorary degree recipient, we are honored to have Father Kesicki as our commencement speaker today. When Tim graduated in 1984, Father Bill Byron, President of Catholic University of America and a fellow Jesuit, was the speaker. And so now Tim's life comes full circle. I would also like to welcome Father Charles L. Curry of the Society of Jesus, who retires this year, which is hard to imagine, after 14 years of distinguished service as President of the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities. Thank you. Above all, I extend my congratulations to our 662 undergraduates, our 301 graduate degree recipients on this important occasion. It is an honor to call you also sons and daughters of John Carroll University. The degrees you receive today culminate years of hard work. Be proud of your accomplishment. Several hundred people are here with us today who also feel very proud. To thank them for all they have done, I invite the class of 2011 to stand, turn and applaud your parents, grandparents, and everyone else who supported you in your education. Four years ago, when the majority of you graduating today set foot on our campus as freshmen, chances are your greatest concern then was making new friends and finding your way to class. Today, many of the friends you've made along the way are like brothers and sisters to you, and you have earned a John Carroll degree, which is much more than a piece of paper or a credential. Your John Carroll education has given you the knowledge and skills that will transcend any job or career. It has prepared you for life, Our graduates are known for their ability to think on their feet. They are known to be innovative and ethical leaders in the workplace and in their communities, which is just as meaningful and relevant today as ever. As you go forth, you are also the graduating class of John Carroll University's 125th anniversary year. This will be your legacy forever. Our combined commencement and reunion make this a landmark weekend in the history of the university. I am confident that the Jesuits and other leaders and visionaries who created and shaped our university would be proud of who we are today, of all we have accomplished, and of our promising future. Generations of Carroll faculty and staff and administrators have inspired, challenged, and prepared John Carroll students to think beyond themselves and to make lasting contributions to society, to the world, through their leadership and service. And so today, we send you, the class of 2011, to do the same. Please know that your education and engagement do not end today. You have been alumni in training these past years. Today, we send you forth as alumni ambassadors for John Carroll. Today, you join a valuable network of more than 39,000 other John Carroll alumni. You'll be pleased to know that your graduating class has the greatest participation ever in the senior class gift. Your class is one of the most environmentally conscious classes ever, and your gift will go toward the purchase of a water bottle refill station in the Student Center. I invite you to come back for reunions and other university events. Stay connected with your John Carroll network and make JCU alumni even better known. We have prepared you to be good citizens, to live responsible and productive lives. These are the values that will serve you well for the rest of your life. Go forth and apply these values and your faith in living lives of leadership and service. Lead lives of integrity and purpose, and be positive agents of change in our world. Again, congratulations. May God's grace be with you and your families as you commence this wonderful new phase of your life. And now, let me introduce Father Kesicki a little bit more for you. I'm very pleased that Father Tim Kesicki has joined us today to give the commencement address and to receive an honorary degree. Here at John Carroll in his time, dances were still called mixers, and other campus traditions included the packed Christmas Carol Eve events and the Volkswagen push, a tradition not to be resurrected. And until 1983, members of ROTC still rappelled down the clock tower. A few years later, in 1986, JCU was celebrating its 100th anniversary, the only other time in Carroll history when commencement and reunion were combined in one fantastic and incredibly busy weekend. As a John Carroll alumnus, Tim is not only one of our own, but is the former president of Saint Ignatius High School from 2000 to 2008. He is a beloved member of the greater Cleveland community. Tim served on the John Carroll Board of Directors from 2000 to 2010. As one who walked the paths at John Carroll, as a student, board member, and Jesuit leader, Tim Kesicki undoubtedly has many stories to share with us today. I am sure other stories won't be shared with us today, at least from the podium. Father Kesicki received his Bachelor of Arts degree in political science in 1984, and that same year he entered the Society of Jesus in Michigan. His formation as a Jesuit included philosophical studies at Loyola University Chicago, theological studies at the Jesuit School of Theology in Berkeley, California, and studies in educational administration at Teachers College of Columbia University, New York. From 1988 to 91, Father Kesicki worked at the University of Detroit Jesuit High School and Academy, where he taught theology, directed the service program, and served on the pastoral team. He was ordained to the priesthood in 1994. After his ordination, Father Kesicki worked for a year in the Jesuit Refugee Service in Uganda, and then taught theology at Loyola High School in Detroit until 2000, when he moved to Saint Ignatius and served there until his appointment as provincial of the Detroit province in 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our 2011 commencement speaker, Father Tim Kesicki.
Thank you, Father Niehoff. As his introduction stated, in May of 1984, I was the graduate, tuning my ear to our commencement speaker, Father Byron, President of the Catholic University of America. Because the skies opened that morning, drenching our beloved campus in rain, Father Byron began his address with these words: John Carroll, with its splendid architecture, has long been considered the Camelot of Jesuit colleges and universities. I'm so pleased to see it from inside your gymnasium. 27 years later, Cleveland weather hasn't changed much. This year marks the 125th year of John Carroll University, and you graduates have the distinction of being members of the quasquicentennial class. Now, I don't think this quasquicentennial anniversary has been fashioned into a Hallmark card. I dare you to find one today. But you certainly know silver, gold, and diamond anniversaries. And anniversaries are important because they mark moments in history. Graduates, as you are sent forth this day, you will always be historically connected to this year. So much has changed in 125 years. Clearly, the university of yesterday is not the institution we know today. Much has been added. Past traditions have ended. Some of you may even wonder if this commencement address itself is outdated. For those of you who favor social networking, couldn't I just have posted these remarks to sites like Orkut, High Five, Friendster, BeboDig, LinkedIn, or that more common site, Facebook? For those of you who are fans of microblogging, couldn't I list my Twitter account in the program and then tweet pithy anecdotes and wisdom quotes in between the events today? Then there are probably the highbrow among you who only stream rich content. I could have posted a pre-recorded web address to YouTube, Flickr, or Vimeo, allowing you to multitask. You could watch the address on your phones during the conferral of 940 diplomas, thus compressing today's timeline and affording you a virtual remote control at these commencement exercises. Alas, my only technology today is this microphone. If anything, I humbly beg that we set aside all such devices, as this time-honored tradition of hearing something together should never die. From Demosthenes' orations to the citizens of Athens, to King George VI's wartime speech dramatically relived in this year's Oscar-winning Best Picture, gathering together around the spoken word is important. Gathering together around shared ideas is like sitting down to a meal. We can ingest many things alone, but our society is ultimately built on what we share together. Today, you march forth with the distinction of being Jesuit educated. It seems that this 470-year-old educational tradition has become something of a brand name, like a make of car or a style of clothing. You'll meet many people throughout this world who take pride in saying, "I am Jesuit educated." This never hit closer to home than when I met the graduate of a school named for a Jesuit saint, but neither sponsored nor staffed by the Jesuit order. When he said to me, "I take great pride in my Jesuit education," I was tempted to respond, "I like your pride, but we're not a franchise." Fortunately, I was taught to be gracious to others. But I can assure you, graduates, by comparison, you're not part of a franchise. You've received the real thing. You are distinguished by an educational tradition which counts saints and scholars, presidents and princes, leaders in education, commerce, science, healthcare, law, the arts, in so many diverse fields and professions. But make no mistake about it. A Jesuit education is not something that you have. You have a diploma. A Jesuit education is reflected in how you think, the choices you make, and the way in which you live your life. Never is this more apparent than when you think you know something, and suddenly the world changes, and you see that knowledge in a different light. In the course of your years at John Carroll, you have already had ample opportunity to see this happen. Let's look at just some of what you have seen. For those of you who began in 2007, just when you thought that every possible insight had been wrung from the financial scandals of the previous decade, along came the near crash of September 2008, where once again we had to explicate the ethical lessons unlearned and prepare for an economy that may have yet to grant you employment. When we began to turn a corner on the 27-year-old AIDS pandemic and demonstrate our scientific dominance over this and other viruses, along came the CDC with the new H1N1 strain that once again remind us that we are not as immune in this age as we thought we might be. After our focused efforts towards sustaining this planet, making green the new buzzword that moderates all earthly consumption, we met a volcano in Iceland with 11 consonants, 5 vowels, and 1 umlaut in its name. While the linguists among you struggled to pronounce Eyjafjallajökull's rage and fury brought Western Europe to a near standstill and threatened everything from global trade to World Cup soccer. And then we could not believe our eyes when nature's fury ravaged again over Japan, sweeping away so many lives, memories, livelihoods, and futures that it forced us to rehear that primordial reading from the book of Genesis. The earth was a formless wasteland with darkness covering the abyss, while the wind slept over the waters. In light of these past 4 years, if your Jesuit education was merely something that you had, how could you respond to the exigencies of your time? But when you see your Jesuit education as a source for your thinking, your choices, the way you live your life. There is no limit to the good that you can do in face of life's many uncertainties. You are on your way to lending your work and your passion to a good that is greater than yourselves. Now, I must confess, I didn't always speak this way or even think this way. When I was seated in your seats, I had two words in my head. Now what? When Father Schell, who was the honorary degree recipient, learned that I was his next provincial, remembering me as a lowly undergraduate, he wrote me a letter saying, "Good God, you're the provincial. It's about time I die." And 2 months later, he did die. You have to respect a man of his word. When I was your age, my friends and I had a funny metric for determining the worth of our learning. It all seemed to boil down to this question: how is this going to help me buy a Honda Prelude? They don't even make Preludes anymore, but I can assure you in 1984, that was the consumer item of first choice. The more abstract the academic course we took, the more we questioned, what will this buy me? I have to tell you, the most abstract course I took as an undergraduate was metaphysics in the philosophy department. To share the burden of study, we often divided up the readings, and I was assigned Aristotle's metaphysics. It began well with Aristotle's optimistic line, "All men by nature desire to know." But when he went on to say that metaphysics was the study of being qua being, and then began to deconstruct Platonic images of form and matter, I said, I have my work cut out for me. I remember a breakthrough in answer to a study sheet, I went into my study group and I said, I know the difference between material, efficient, final, and formal causes. And they looked at me and said, that won't buy you a pint of beer. Needless to say, we were not impressed. A couple years later, in discerning whether or not I would become a Jesuit, I read Saint Ignatius Loyola's First Principle and Foundation, one of his greatest contributions to Western thought and belief. When he taught me how I could reach the end for which I was created, Aristotle suddenly gave me the window that I needed into life's deeper meaning. What Aristotle called in Greek a telos, Ignatius understood as an end or purpose, and suddenly my worldview changed its axis. Life was not merely about what I would have or even what I would do, it was all about who I would become. While my parents had formed me into much of what I already was, they couldn't do it alone. They gave me all they had, even some of what they didn't have, for my education. And this Jesuit education that they provided me at John Carroll University helped me to seek my telos, my end, that which would give my life meaning and purpose. Is this not the ultimate aim of Jesuit education? In embracing the life of the mind, formed in the crucible of human experience, enlightened by faith, do we not all yearn for purpose, meaning, and destiny? The great author Frederick Buechner writes, "The place God calls you to is where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." What a fitting image of that end which Jesuit education desires for each of you. For Father Pedro Arrupe, the 28th Superior General of the Society of Jesus, he felt that we could best reach that end through love. His oft-quoted words read, "What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you will do with your evenings, how you will spend your weekends, what you read, who you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love. It will decide everything." Graduates, I ask that your first act of love today be gratitude to your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, those who gave all that they have, even what they didn't have, for this John Carroll education. And then let this education help you in finding that end or purpose for which God created you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Father Kesicki. In honor of the late Reverend William J. Malore of the Society of Jesus, who served the university in a variety of posts for 28 years before his death in 1977, a committee of faculty, administrators, and students have designated a member of the senior class to make a presentation at these exercises.